that life is a system of interconnected systems. Everything is connected to everything. When we see these strings that connect two things together, we call it a groundbreaking discovery, which is when Einstein found about gravity, or when any great researcher found about a drug that cures something. These things have always been there, and it always existed, and we only see the patterns, we only see what connects things together. So I was thinking about what would connect human beings to each other, what connects everything to everything. Are we like all connected in a way? And that's what we'll find out in this talk. So a physical representation of our lives will be a sphere. Everyone's life is a sphere. We only have one rotational axis. We only have one rotational axis. We can only rotate at one direction at a time, which making us a circle. We can go anywhere. So the universe is like a vast empty space with all those little molecules that we are one of them. So you can go anywhere you want, but you need to be able to steer your circle. You need to be able to steer your sphere, and that's what we'll find out later this talk. And not only thinking about us as speakers and as listeners and everyone, let's think about who is in our lives as well. So if you think about who is in your circle, who is in your sphere, who is connected with you, it could be your family, it could be your friends, your co-workers, it could be anyone you meet in the street, it could be the bus driver that drives you to uni every day, it could be your tutors. Their decisions affects their rotation, and thus they drag you with them. So everything that they do affects you, and everything that you do affects them. And not only think about these, you can expand it on and on to come to an end that everyone in this country is connected. If you do something now, it will affect someone in Scotland maybe a few years later. It will affect someone in South Africa maybe centuries later. Everything just happens in a way. It's like the butterfly effect. You drop something and it expands and never stops. So if you think about all the people in one country, the governments affects people, and people affects the governments, everything just affects each other. So what is the driving force? Is there a driving force? Is there like a source of energy that keeps us going into one direction or the other? So if you think about it, if everyone in this country is connected, and everyone in Ireland is connected, so what connects the UK with Ireland? Which would be our perception of life. So if the UK views the world from one perspective, just one perspective, they only deal with things in one way, and that's their culture, that's the way they do things. And people in Ireland do the same. People in Egypt have one rotational axis. People every single in this world, they only have one rotation, but we're all connected, we all affect each other. So, rules of the game. If life is a game, there's few rules that we need to accept. Rule number 1, we are born with a race, with a color, with a nationality, with family, with an identity that we might have not chosen for ourselves, but we were born with it. We gave it to ourselves, and we took it from the environment. Even in some cultures, your beliefs might be given to you when you were born. You're given a religion, and that's the religion that you should continue with to the rest of your life. And so that's rule number 1. We haven't chosen any of these things, so we need to accept it and embrace it. Rule number 2, there is no way back. We only go into one direction. We cannot come back from any direction. Whatever you've done is already done. You can only improve what's going to come next. Rule number 3, we don't own anything but our own decisions. If you think about anything that you have, you don't own it. It's for someone else or something else. Even our bodies, we can't control it, so we don't own it. The only thing that we can own is our own decisions. So I'm taking you to the gameplay. Life is like a maze, and we're all living in that maze. We're all lost. We don't know what to do. We don't know how we came here. We don't know where are we going. So we always try and find our way out of the maze or through the maze by having beliefs. That's why a human being needs to believe in something. They need to have a belief, something that makes them feel found, something that makes them not feel lost, some pathway, some direction that they need to follow. So we need to choose that very carefully, because that's the direction that will take you. So depending on where you come from or what your religion is, some people do believe in the afterlife, and so they rotate their sphere into a direction and do things the way a religion asks us to do things, to just guide us through the afterlife, which is, we believe we're going to take it, it's going to take us through the maze and outside the maze to the whatever is after that maze. And some people do not believe in religion, and they just accept science and philosophy, and that's still another way. That's their rotation. They do things and they behave in ways that just affects their rotation in a way, and they're happy with the idea of dying in the maze because they don't believe something is after that maze, so they're just very comfortable with living in the maze and doing whatever it takes to just live happily in the maze. So I've been thinking, what if, who owns us? Like, are we alive, or is it our genes that's alive? Because the way I see it is, there are billions and billions of people, each with a color, each with a belief, each with their own sphere, with their own direction. So is it that our genes have mutated itself, or became mutated, or became created, depends on what you believe, and mutate itself so that it can make billions of duplicates with each have a chance. So if one person survives at the end, that would be the survival of the human gene. So are we who we are because we are, or are we just a product of our genes that carries forward? So if our genes have mutated itself, it made so we can survive all those different environments. There's so many different environments in this earth, and the way you think affects the way you act. So each environment has its own way of survival. So that's why you tend to see a pattern of people who live in the forest tend to believe in that, people who live in the desert tend to have different beliefs, characteristics. It's just survival rate, depends on our beliefs. So speaking of survival, we all have a baseline of what makes us happy. Eating makes you happy, drinking water or whatever makes you happy, thinking, being curious makes you happy, believing makes you happy, belonging makes you happy, enjoying life makes you happy, meditating makes you happy. Everything that is necessary for survival makes you happy. So then, are we wired to do the things that will make us alive, and as a reward we feel happiness? Or do we just really need to survive? So who is the owner here? Are we the owner of our genes? Are our genes the owner of us? So if we stay curious, if we keep doing everything the proper way that is necessary for survival, the thing that we'll get is pleasure. But there's not only pleasure, we also feel pain. So there's two things that will always come through and come across, pain and pleasure. When one needs to accept that they need to go through pain to get the pleasure, or if they're having pleasure, they will go through pain. It's just one of the life rules you need to accept and become comfortable living with it. So the player is you. The player is us, is this sphere. And I like that he noticed this. Maybe not many people have noticed it, but so the player, it's us. We all have goals, or maybe none of us have goals, but we all do have goals that we want to achieve before we die. We all have goals that we want to achieve before the game is over. But are we actually striving to work towards our goals? Are we actually rotating our sphere to the direction that will make us achieve our goals? Are we just living life like throwing ourselves in the sea and saying if we can survive or not? So what affects us is the people in your sphere and your awareness of the sphere itself. So your self-awareness affects how you do things and how you achieve things, and if you will become successful in the future or not. And also, not only that, the tiny little decisions that you take every single day, from what am I going to eat today, what am I going to drink, from what am I going to eat, what am I going to drink. What you eat affects the bacteria in your gut, which sends signals to your brain, I want more of that food. So there's a competition down there that affects every single thing. So from the tiniest decision, if you decide I want to eat healthy food from today, it will affect you for the rest of your life. And if you decide I want to just go for that McDonald's or something, that will still grow the bacteria that feed on junk food, and that will keep sending signals to your brain, I want more junk food, so you'll go down that pathway. So it's very obvious that whatever you accept to come into your sphere, rotate it into one direction that you'll have to survive with. And then the challenge, the real challenge that I see that we have is cognitive bias. We all have biases, and it is very automatic. So for example, priming effect. If I say smile, if I say happy, positive, good, amazing, you will get the memories of happiness. I see a lot of smiles on your faces, which is just automatically your brain starts to think about happiness and smiling and positivity. And if I go the other way around, most of you will start having the memories of the negative things in their life. So everything, every word that's being said will affect how your brain reacts to it, everything. So how can we not fall through thinking bias? Thinking bias, you need to first question what are you thinking, and if your thinking is right or not. So that happens in these cases. So all of these are just cognitive biases that happens automatically without us being aware of it. And that happens in 4 cases. When we need to act fast, we accept any information without any evidence, without questioning anything. When we are not sure what should we remember, we remember the first thing that comes into our brains, even though if it's the wrong thing, even though if we're aware it's not the right thing. When there's too much information, we become misguided, we don't know what to do. So we just take the first thing that affects our brain, priming effect, and just go through it. And when there's not enough meaning, it makes us make a meaning from our own brains without even questioning that meaning. So every single decision that we take, we need to go through the cognitive bias. So if you're not very self-aware, if you're not questioning what you think, you will not pass in the right direction. So some life hacks. Develop a growth mindset. Everything is a process. The result does not belong to you. So if you want to pass an exam, if you don't pass that exam, it doesn't mean that you're wrong. It means the process of you studying didn't work. All you need to do is go back from next time. Think about how to improve that process. So everything is an ongoing process. Master that process. Master the skill of knowing when to improve, when you can come in. The second life hack, choose the people in your circles very carefully, because they're continuous source of priming and anchoring, they're continuous source of giving you information. They drag you. If they're toxic, to toxicity. If they're positive, they will drag you to positivity. So these have very big impact on us. So if you think about it, the universe is massive and it's big. We don't know what's in the universe. We're very afraid of going outside there. We don't know how to go outside. So I tend to believe every one of us is a universe on their own. We're very, very complex creatures. We're very complex in a way that we don't really understand ourselves, and we're scared from understanding ourselves. So we need to go, everyone, have that deep talk with yourself, understand why you do things the way you do things, and why you behave in the way you behave. And if life was a game, and there's 2 islands, and we need to cross, I would say, as a team, we would build the bridge on our own, original creation, and let it be known. No duplication that we condone, continuous elevation until we're fully blown. Thank you for listening.